I'm Sue Gray, and this is my friend and assistant, Shay Robertson. So we're Gray
and Shay.
And Shay, yeah. And we're going to tell you today why we think growing grapes is divine. Get it? I have to tell you that I started growing grapes grapevines simply because I think vineyards are beautiful. And that's probably a good thing because, believe it or not, it takes maybe a good 3 years until you can start actually harvesting a crop from the grapes. So that gave me a little time to figure out what I wanted to do with the grapes once they came along. But as I said, I fell in love with them just by looking at the vineyards. And I did that in the central coast of California. No doubt about it, there are a lot more grapes grown in California than here in Illinois. But here's the interesting part of their history that a lot of people don't know. That area where I was looking at in Central California, the Paso Robles area, was initially settled by a family right here from our town of Geneseo. So the Ernst family, I don't know if you know any Ernst, but they went to California and started growing some grapes commercially, and they were one of the first ones that did so. So even though they got us on size and the amount of vineyards that they have, we have an important part of their history too.
Cool.
Yeah, so why California? What's so cool about that? Well, I'm going to have you do something here, Shay. Just switch a little bit this direction, looking at the sun. Put your head back, close your eyes, and feel that sun coming down on you. Does it feel good?
Yeah.
It does feel nice. Well, the grapes really like that too, because they need that sun, first of all, to warm up a little bit, and they need some air movement, but most of all, they need sunlight, to, like all plants do, to drive the photosynthesis so that they grow fast and healthy and grow really sweet grapes. So the sunlight is one reason why they really grow a lot of grapes in California. And the other reason is the hills. So that cold air drops to the bottom of the hill and the sunlight warms the grapes and you get good production.
That's good.
How about if we take a little walk in the vineyard?
Okay.
Sound good?
Hey Gray, do
Yeah.
you grow green grapes or red grapes?
Good question.
And how can you tell the difference?
Even better question. I actually have both green and red grapes. We have red grapes on this side and green or white grapes on that side. And they're pretty hard to tell apart, aren't they?
Yeah.
They all look pretty much the same. I got a question for you. Which do you prefer, green or red?
Green.
Green. And do you like seedless grapes or grapes with seeds in them?
Seedless grapes.
Seedless. Did you ever think about, since every fruit needs to have a seed in it, how do they get seedless grapes? Did you ever think about that?
No.
Well, let's talk about it now. So, everybody's an individual, right? Do you have any special skills? Can you what's your special skill?
That I'm double jointed.
Exactly, perfect. So you're double jointed. Well, I'm not, so I don't have that skill. Well, once upon a time, there was a grape plant that grew that did not have seeds in it. And somebody figured that out, and they're like, these are really cool because we don't have to worry about what to do with those seeds. So that was great to share those grapes from that plant, but how do we grow another plant? Because there's no seeds. So there's no way to grow a seed. Well, a grape plant is just like most woody plants. We can take a cutting off of it, stick it in water, or maybe some rooting compound, and that stick will grow some roots. We can plant the stick, and then you have other plants that produce seedless grapes. So that's how you get seedless grapes without having any seeds
That's
to grow
awesome.
them with. Yeah, it's cool. Let's keep walking. So right there, Shay, what you're looking at is a really young, just a little shoot that comes out really early in the spring. And that's the first way that they appear right after the buds break. Then, right over here, you can see one that's a little bit farther along, and next to it, one that's a little bit farther along yet. And you start to see these little clusters forming on here. A lot of people think that these are actually like baby grapes, that they're the beginning of grapes. They are and they aren't. Actually, what they are is flowers. Let's back up here again a little bit so you can see closely, Shay. You see how those clusters have grown a lot?
Yeah.
And they do start to look like baby grapes, but what they are is buds. We're going to go and see if we can find some where the buds have broken and actually turned into little tiny flowers. Okay, I don't know if y'all can see this, if it's focused well enough, but you can see these little tiny spikes or stamens coming out of here, Shay? And
Yeah.
that's the flower itself. Once the pollen on that is fertilized, then it does turn into a little baby grape, and you start to see them appearing soon as little tiny, like green peas that show up, and then they slowly grow through the summer. Hey, Shay.
Hey, Gray.
Hey, I want to show you a little bit about how grapes are grown here in the trellising. You can see two wires here. You can't see this one very much, but then there's poles that hold those wires up, like this right here, and that's called the trellis. And I have two trunks coming up here, one heading off this way and one heading off that way, and those are called the cordons. And then these branches that come down like these can be called the canes. You see how right now they're all standing up and pretty, and one about every 3 or 4 inches. Well, pretty soon these are going to get really long, and we'll start to train these so they come down instead of going up, and so that it winds up being more like my hair, so it goes down on both sides. And when you do that, these grapes then are out here catching all of that sunlight. So that's really what we're after, is for the grapes to see the sun, and that's how they grow.
Are your grapes organic?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's possible for some growers in California to grow organic grapes. It's really hard in Illinois, and here's why. Do you get hot and sweaty in the summer?
Yeah.
Yes, particularly around here in Illinois, because it's so humid in Illinois, and that high humidity is tough for grapes. And what it's good for is for the diseases to come in. So because diseases are so common in grapes that are grown in Illinois, you pretty well have to spray some sort of fungicide on that to keep that from happening. However, there's a way to do it safely. First of all, the pesticides that we spray on them are very heavily tested to make sure that they're okay. And then, just to be safe, I have a pesticide applicator's license, just like most farmers do, or anybody that sprays pesticides. That means I've studied, I've taken a test, and I've gotten a license, and so I know how to use the pesticides so that they don't cause any harm to you or anyone that eats my grapes, or to the environment, to the birds and everything that we hear, or even to myself when I make that application. So we just make sure that we use pesticides safely, and then we don't have to worry about it. But no, my grapes aren't organic, and most in Illinois are not. Hey, Shay.
Hey, Gray.
Hey, do you remember last year when you came and helped me harvest the grapes?
Yep.
Shay was a great helper, and I kept behind the heavy farming equipment that we had back then and brought out instead this antique crusher, because I thought it'd be fun for y'all to see. You want to show them how when you turn this, how those rollers roll together, and that's how the grapes are crushed. Okay, if you hold up a second, I'll put this bin on top. Now, I'm going to put a couple grapes in here, and then my pal Shay is going to crush them. Go for it. Harder to turn, but she's got them, and they're all gone. She crushed all of them. We can fill this up with grapes, and it's pretty quick the way that Shay turns that, and we got the grapes all crushed. I think we got harvest done. It is time for us to enjoy some snacks. Hey, Shay.
Hey, Gray.
I got a joke for you. What is Mrs. Grape's favorite thing to do?
I don't know.
Raising kids. Duh.
Hey, Gray.
What, Shay?
What's Mrs. Gray's favorite thing to do?
This Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
I'm not sure. Were you going to tell me? What's my favorite thing?
Raising grapes.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Here's to ya.